matchup. It's the Thinking Men up against the Glazers. The first map was the Thinking Men's pick on Sunset, which they have an over 90% win rate, and the Glazers have like close to 30% win rate. And we kind of just saw the Glazers play around with their food a little bit, and the Thinking Men lose that one out. Only 8 rounds on that one, while the Glazers were able to pick up 13.
Am I heard? Can you hear me?
Do you feel heard?
Do I feel heard? Okay, awesome. I feel so heard right now. Thank you guys for listening. This is my therapy session. Yeah, it was kind of a crazy game, I'm not going to lie. And I know we said we really did think Thinking Man was going to pull through with this. And it was quite surprising when they didn't. And I guess that goes into the triumph story of, like, you know, some teams that think they lose against teams like this, right? They have bad history and whatnot, and then they really do practice and come into promotion and relegation. And obviously that's the story of Blinn, where, you know, they lost against the Glazers before. They triumphed, and now they've taken that one spot. So kind of the same origin story here as we're seeing from the Glazers now, kind of pulling through. They're kind of looking hot and heavy. I'm not going to lie. And I like that. They're cooking, and I'm hungry. So, you know, serve me whatever you got cooking on a platter, and I'll eat it. This is obviously a cry for help to DoorDash me food. At the same time, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. But
my goodness, Coppers.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, but of course, like, one of the things that I noticed here on Sunset was the way that we saw the Thinking Men play. They were a lot more aggressive. They wanted to play together, get in your face. The util was very much focused on a little bit more of the micro plays, in like, we're gonna do our flashes here, we're gonna use the Sage Wall here, and the whole objective of a lot of that is just to get kills. And what we ended up seeing was the Glazers start to recognize that, obviously too, starting to recognize some of the fun patterns that we saw with the Sage, Reform playing the Sage, and then just trying their best to counter it, whether or not it was to make that gap in their utility window, or just start to split them apart, you know, give them the space that they want, let them all dump things out. And it was really when we saw the Glazers split up Thinking Men and dismantle that utility soup that they were throwing at the board. That's when we saw the Glazers be able to win. And as soon as they kind of picked up on that, it looked very one-sided from this team.
Yeah, I'll be honest, the thing I'm also kind of scared about moving forward is kind of just like the performance of what we're going to see on Breeze, though, because, you know, kind of looking at the map history, Sunset, great map, 25 win percentage is crazy. I mean, it was just 1 out of 3 that they had lost, but just obviously pulling through with the possibility of moving forward to Breeze, a map that this team has not been able to win at all when it comes down to the Glazers. So for Thinking Men, at least getting some of those reps down to it throughout the season, and now kind of coming up to this conclusion as to what's going to happen. But Zachary definitely shined above the rest on a map like this one. I will say the Glazers, I felt like before when they had played previously against, I believe they played against Blinn or something like that. Yeah, after they played against Blinn, I really didn't see any value in the Breach playing with Zachary, but I think they found that after maybe VOD reviewing that previous match yesterday, and they looked so much better.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about that, what was the combo that we saw coming out here often was Breach and then Omen. And especially too on the defense, the Glazers were doing an excellent job of this to either use the fault line or the paranoia to really just halt down the state of play that the Thinking Men potentially were going to be tossing at them. And it was those fault lines that made such a huge difference, in addition to like the flashes, but it still looked so good every single time that utility got through. And of course, Zachary playing a lot more explosively. It really felt like Zachary was being supported by the util a lot better than Paint on this map. And as a result, I mean, there's the reason why we're seeing Zachary being the MVP on the Glazers. And on top of that too, Zachary can op, right? Like, that is one thing that you always want to be able to see your duelist do. And Zachary was taking the 1v1s against Reformed and usually coming out on top.
He was doing great. I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of thought when it was Reformed versus Zachary that Reformed had it in the bag. The reaction time was crazy, obviously dismissing any sorts of blinds and flashes and whatnot. And, you know, you kind of see Zachary in that position where, okay, now the 1v1's coming, Reformed has this in the bag. It did surprise me. And so, again, like, it's that confidence that really does shine above the rest when it comes down to kind of the Glazers versus Thinking Men. They came into this knowing they needed to win, knowing what the stakes were. And I think that's what really pushed them further. Sometimes people just work better under that sort of pressure.
It's so funny because sometimes they're just like, you know, just relax. That's when you play your best and stuff like that. But I agree with you. When you've got that little carrot dangling in front of you, you understand what is on the line here. You got to take things a little bit more seriously. And right now we're seeing the Glazers do exactly that. They're now one map away from potentially eliminating the Thinking Men here. And so the Thinking Men, they got to be sweating a little bit because, I mean, like you were saying, Breeze, our second map, we're going into this one next, and the Thinking Men don't exactly look great on Breeze.
Did you say the carrot dangling in front of you?
Yeah, you know, like they're keeping a little carrot in front of you, so you're like, ah, yes, I must keep on going.
Are you
ever
chasing
heard that idiom before?
Are you chasing carrots? Like, if I had a carrot dangling in front of me, I think I'd turn the other way. I don't know what you're chasing, but
it's a race dog analogy. Okay, regardless, let's talk about Breeze.
Put a burger there. What are you doing? All right,
yeah, of course.
It's fine. We're going to Breeze. It's all right. At least Breeze has freaking ice cream. Maybe. I mean, it's a resort, tropical. I guess. Yeah. It's tropical. Breeze, a resort that entices killing people, but I digress. It's great. Valorant. I love Valorant. Breeze coming up, of course. Picking this is the Glazers, which again caught me by surprise, but that's the scariest thing, I'll be honest. A team that has not been able to pull through with a win on a map that just really did not look good in previous times. A map where they didn't even have a set composition is now taking its toll, and this team is picking it is terrifying. It means they have something that they're planning. They have something that they think is going to work against this team in particular, and I think Thinking Men have to be ready.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, just with how the season has been going with Thinking Men playing Breeze, it hasn't looked fantastic either. So to me, what this says is that the Glazers, once again, they're picking something that they know that the Thinking Men aren't necessarily good at, even though they might acknowledge that this isn't necessarily their strongest map either. And so they're hoping that, you know, their low is a little bit higher than the low of the Thinking Men here. And at this point too, I think it's important to mention that we are playing this before the Viper nerf comes through here, because obviously Viper, a big staple on Breeze, but as soon as that nerf comes through, who knows how the meta is going to shift. But I think it's safe to say that we're probably still going to be seeing a little bit of Viper here.
Yeah, I don't think Viper's... actually, I'm not going to lie. Depending on how bad it actually is in a team play, so I think people are definitely going to try it out. Eventually, I think Harbor's not too far off, to be completely honest with you. There isn't like the ability to like re-bring your wall back up, which I think is one of the most valuable parts about Viper. But I've seen people try to swap it out for the Harbor from time to time. I've seen teams try to implicate that with the Astra. I really don't think we're too far off of that becoming the actual meta, especially with the sound cues from the Cypher. Frick Cypher, guys, please get me a new Sentinel. But at the same time, I digress. We got a Yoru and an Astra coming down to this, especially with that double controller composition from Thinking Men. A huge potential there, and I think Reformed is going to do a great job at playing that Yoru role to a team.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, based off of how that Sage was being played last time, I am confident in Reformed being able to play off this Yoru here, but I have to say, I'm a little bit hesitant. You talked about the Cypher nerf. I have a feeling that the Thinking Men are actually all about the Cypher nerf, because it feels like they've been avoiding Cypher like the plague these last couple of rounds. They don't want to bring in Cypher, and especially too on Breeze, where, you know, the whole reason why you want to set up those traps is to make sure that you've still got map controls. Make sure that you're denying the flank coming through as well. That's a lot of information that you just kind of lose. So Thinking Men, once again, kind of leaning more towards a death ball, in my opinion, where they have to be a little bit more aggressive, and they're going to be playing Scrubble Bubble like that pseudo Sentinel.
Oh, and I didn't like that. Drone was ready for a flash, but Zachary kind of just rushed that. So unfortunately now you're stuck in a... Oh man, I just messed up. Now you have to try to fight your way back, especially on this pistol.
Yeah, just had a little bit of an oopsie in that early round there, but no big deal. We go again. And now it actually seems like the aggression going to be moving forwards for Thinking Men. One of the benefits of that Astra, we're still talking about Astra, is that you can toss down those stars wherever on the map. But importantly, Drone, a lot of information on the backstab.
Oh, nice. It's big. Already Drone trying to gather some sort of redemption from the mistake made off the beginning. Good usage. Now having a suppression as well to use. Yep, going to be able to do that. And that's going to catch more. Finding out that Asova's nearby as well. Not going to be able to fight that, though. Pistol round going a bit more in favor of Thinking Man and a huge rotation down towards A.
And on top of that, too, the fact that Ange is moving up there is going to solidify that piece of info.
30 seconds
of course,
left.
Cyphercamp's still going to be available on that A site. And actually, spots out Vix, which leads to a little bit of confusion for the Glazers. They're not 100% sure where this is happening. Finally, the camera does reveal that information, but that one peek actually just bought them a lot of time.
Scanning ahead.
Yeah, Recon already destroyed, so not going to get too much information. The only thing they really do have is, okay, I know where Lear is. And how we might just be able to fight this, but even if you know where they are, it really doesn't matter. You have to win out the fight. And with Vix left alone, nothing else to use, maybe just some of the util set down. That might not even work out in favor. Right click, all that's needed from Ange, and of course, confidence rises above all from the Glazers.
And they say Valorant isn't a horror game. That one caught me by surprise. And just very violently swinging around the corner and have that classic in hand. Able to find the kill there and seal the deal. But while we're on the topic of Vipers on this map, one of the biggest things that I need to highlight is the fact that that Viper Molly is that unique piece. That's why I actually don't think that we get Harbor as often on Breeze. It's simply just because of the Viper Molly. Especially on the defense, does an excellent job of being able to deny things out. And obviously on the offense, does a good job at being able to clear out corners and play for those post plants. But that thing is so good at just denying the space. And quite frankly, that was the big thing that allowed Drone to be able to move so deep on the flank. Right now, the Glazers, they're playing around those mollies, and I think that that is how you want to do your defense on Breeze. As soon as you get some information, oh, they might be coming here. What if they just didn't? Because there's a grenade exploding in front of you, and that just halts the push completely, potentially splitting off your Yoru, potentially splitting off your Jet, and allows for a bit more space to breathe and get yourself set up. And so from the Glazer side, I imagine that is going to be a staple in this defense, and I think the Thinking Men should be able to play around that one. The majority of these compositions kind of do, but it is still one of those things to be aware of.
At this point, again, I feel like kind of getting risky there off the rip, but yeah, just being able to pull that back is the biggest probability. The Glazers are running off a win too, so confidence definitely exuding from that. Zachary's like, nah, I got this, fam, don't worry about it. But they did it.
Hey, Drone, it's funny. Did. For what it's worth, Drone did.
It's funny too, though, because we know that Zachary's just going to pop off eventually. Especially with that being said, once you start feeling confidence on the Jet on a map like Breeze, I definitely do think that's the scariest thing that you can have. But not much of a counter to that. Though second round coming through with better weapons, better mentality, and better positioning. So, yeah, just waiting for that to happen. 16 seconds as we start to just recollect ourselves, see where we want to go. The A site looking pretty heavily contested, especially alongside mid there.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting too, because if Zachary is on that, I imagine it's going to be a little bit more aggressive. A little bit more just take the space or get the information out here, and then once again just play off of it. But yeah, that actually gets a lot of information. So the suppression, scouting out, I think 4 members there. And yeah, Thinking Men, they completely just back up. They are taking a little bit of tube control here, but mostly undecided. But that information actually allows Precision and Ange to move so far.
And they just push it out. They know they have the advantage, which, I mean, kind of an interesting choice. A lot of people would tend to keep their respects down, especially with these close range weapons. You don't really want to hand those fights over, though. Paint finding one of their own, that's huge. Recruit down. So lack of information, a possibility, especially now with Drone trying to take Lear out in advance. Seems like not going to happen, though.
And the Thinking Men are in such a weird position. I mean, look at Vix just on the other side while the rest of the players are all stuck up in tube. They need to get a little bit of a reprieve if they want to be able to escape this, but it's looking really tough. Vix more or less can't really help besides using the toxic wall, and Glazers have the read on what's going on. They're starting to rotate around. They definitely have more map control right now.
Left.
Thinking Men are feeling the pressure. What is this?
The squad walking up on the B site. Nobody's there.
Best timing there.
13 seconds left too. Okay, Precision's just spamming it down regardless. So I mean, they don't even have the spike to play with at this point. Paint getting a bit too heavy into the picks. Why are we missing shots here? Everything is just messy. And now you leave Vix in a 1v2 situation. Of course, not going to be able to pull through with the win, but Clint not available either. Yeah, regardless. A valiant effort though. I mean, you could definitely see the vision there. Seems like Thinking Men able to pick up some guns here.
Gophers, that was an episode of Scooby-Doo. I'm just gonna call it.
It really was.
Is. You know where they like walk through one door and then appear on the other side of the hallway or something like that? I mean, they completely just bamboozled each other with their own positioning on the map, and there were so many opportunities for Valorant timing to just play a factor here. Precision, though, able to come out on top and most importantly drops that spike down on that B site.
Right here.
As a result of that one, the round is more or less over, so the Glazers get that second, but now Thinking Men, they've been prioritizing this ult orb. They will pick it up yet again, and now Reformed is so close to having that dimensional drift online. Could be used to just engage very heavily, but once again, Zachary getting rather aggressive. Does only have this Outlaw, though, looking for a potential pick as a... Okay, now we're seeing that aggression pay dividends.
Oh my gosh, he just gave himself away! And it doesn't matter. Reform still picks off the fight against Zachary. Oh, and that was such a huge indicator. I think that was intentional too.
And actually too, I think what we were seeing at the beginning there from Thinking Men was that they were just playing a little bit further back, expecting to see a little bit of aggression on one side or the other. And it works out perfectly that time. And on top of that too, they keep that B side in check. Know that no one is pushed out early round.
Who's next?
Oh, and this is honestly great teamwork already coming down to it. Yeah, Jerome not having much to say about a situation like that when Thinking meant pulling through with the ultimate. And now finally able to find themselves that possible first round, though. It's up to Ange. And with that, yeah, with that being said, backs off ever so slightly. It's like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, just see if you can play for a couple of picks, get your ultimate just a little bit closer to being online, but I think that was honestly just the Thinking Men doing an excellent job at challenging that aggression. As soon as we saw Zachary just push up there, they jump on that one, able to get the kill. And then Reform just continues to hang out and claim that space as their own, and it's just so much easier to be able to go through. The ultimate, of course, making it a lot more easier, but given the fact that they know that they don't have that level of skill to kind of contest with in Zachary, it's a lot more comfortable engaging in onto the site, and that's just a clean breeze take, plant, and execute coming through for the Thinking Men, as they will get their first round on the board.
This is where we start to see kind of like that turning point. You know, who really is going to take that lead? Because now equal playing field. Everybody has the same weapons, baby. There's no complaining at this point, especially with Zachary pulling out the op. So when it comes down to TG, one thing we do know is that they tend to like to abuse this. So I'm interested as to how this B site's going to happen, especially with the potential for maybe a retake down in A. Majority of that control leading down towards mid.
And actually, too, the Glazers, they swap up their defensive agents. So we are going to be seeing the Jet and KO hang out on
Right
B
here.
site this time.
Right here.
Which might just throw a loop for Thinking Men. Once again, they're playing a little bit backwards, expecting to see that aggression, but I don't think that they know that Zachary is going to be anchoring down this B site with this operator, and given the fact that that wall is available as well, allows for just a bit more control, making it more difficult for Thinking Men to potentially move in.
Yeah, the dash was an interesting choice, especially with no information at all. So that's kind of gone. They're just waiting. 54 seconds left. They know the push is going to have to happen here. And the spike isn't even in hand. So regardless of whether or not they push this, potential for a pick is in the hands of Zachary. 36 seconds left now. The A site is left slightly open. They don't know, though. Precision still stuck around the back. Oh, finding out Scrubble. Bob, reaction time there, and they're lucky. Finally an ultimate to give them some sort of information. And they know the push is here. Beautiful shots. Already finding another. And it just might be theirs. TG insane with the capability. And they've held on. regardless of this 2v3 situation, yeah, Zachary's gonna have honestly a good time wrapping around the back with the operator. Hopefully trying to find something there.
Look at Drone, though. Could pop the door, make them confused for a second, allowing Precision Zachary to re-engage. This one's going to be tricky for this retake.
Dead. Last player standing.
All right, well, another one left down to Zachary. Reformed has a flash that they can use, but I mean, what much is the flash going to do when two people are wrapping you, especially with the op already on its way? They could try to recollect this. Flash comes out maybe just a bit too late, and it's Drone with the confidence to peek this. TG bringing in that 3-1.
Yeah, Zachary too, able to keep the operator there. I mean, I have to say, Reformed doing whatever they can to try and pull this round back, and yet it still falls just a little bit flat. Precision, though, ultimately the hero for the Glazers on this round. Not only able to secure that kill, denying any Astra smokes, but then gets the ultimate as well. The Neural Theft revealing so much information about where things are going, allowing Ange to stack up a multi-kill on the actual site. The Thinking Man just pulled to pieces by a single piece. So honestly, excellent job to Precision. And honestly, while we're talking about Precision, even the last map, Precision has been such a strong hold for the Glazers, and honestly just anchoring down some of these rounds for this team.
They don't miss. That's why they name themselves Precision. That's why they name themselves Precision. It's quite crazy. But man, Drone out in mid. Honestly, I like that. They know there's absolutely nothing in mid. That allows Riku some leeway, kind of taking a step back, and even knowing now that this smoke might be a fake, so very informative.
And the mind games now, I think, are getting a little bit to the Thinking Men. The fact that Zachary has that operator means that we're no longer seeing that aggression come out from the Glazers round after round. If there wasn't someone coming out of A, there was someone coming out of B, but now that Zachary has that operator, you just hold the sight line down. You don't need to risk yourself. And yeah, the Thinking Men, it kind of puts them into this time crunch.
Nowhere to run!
Oh, and there's not much to do here. Just trying to back themselves away, but it doesn't matter. Some of the damage already left. Lear. And now Scrubblebub trying to take some of that control down to the extremities, but yeah, they haven't even pushed sight yet, and it's 33 seconds left. All TG needs to do is hold this down. Shock darts readily available for Riku to utilize here. They're not going to use it. They know there's somebody's there, and they're looking for the next, but it doesn't come out. The op's still stuck in the corner. And now even then, Reform feeling pretty confident putting themselves in a risky position there, but still. Yeah, Spike set down two players, just not feeling too good about the situation, especially with the op in hand and a 2v4.
Yeah, and you can see Zachary immediately backing off here. Ange not even going to attempt it. He's going to be backing off as well. And once again, I have to highlight Reformed. I think Reformed has been doing a fantastic job at securing the kills where they matter. Very early Hunter Fury coming in from Lear actually pings up Reformed, which not the most ideal, but it's in that chaos that we actually get to see that Yoru start to thrive. And just like that, it's going to be the Thinking Men slowly pulling themselves back while Zachary holds on to that operator yet again. Time crunch a little bit against the Thinking Men there, but they make the most out of the situation and do a very clean execute. Not exactly the cleanest plant as Lear goes down in the midst of that battle there, but regardless, Reformed able to get the spike down, keeping Vix alive importantly, cut off so many of those sight lines, and the rest was history. So the Thinking Men definitely still into this one, as we're going to be seeing the Glazers go for a bit more of a scattered buy Precision, having to buy up that Stinger. But let's see how this next round is going to shake up.
They're pinging everything. They're going for it. That's what you do. The communication is not there verbally. It's just there in the game. But they're yeah, Zachary's still holding this with the op. And I thought they were going to push this hard, but it seems like not. No, regardless, they're waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But maybe it doesn't happen that way. Zachary ready with everything that they have in their power, and the crosshold beautiful coming through from Riku. The teamwork is there for TG, and they just don't let it go. Reformed is stuck in the back of sight, and they still get caught out. Nothing. They don't know what this team is trying to do, and TG are flawless yet again. A 4-2, and man, a big headache in the hands of Thinking Man.
What happened there for the Glazers was one of those instances where it's like, all right, we've got a plan A here, and then just in case we're going to make a plan B, And when all of that goes wrong, we've got plan C in the back pocket. So let me walk you through what happened, because Zachary goes in with the operator, is able to get a kill, immediately Paint dashes in to punish. This is where plan B starts to implicate, where Drone tosses out the fragment to deny anybody else that space. And while that is happening, as well, they've got somebody else watching the angle to make sure that Paint gets punished right off the bat. And so there was so much room for, honestly, Zachary to just kind of go nuts and still be able to escape alive in the midst of all of that. And once again, it's that level of just kind of creativity right now that we're seeing from the Glazers. Be a little bit more aggressive, change up their style on the defense round after round to confuse thinking men. And it's honestly really working out well for them, Gompers.
I think everything is just like, dude, their aim is insane. Zachary getting aggressive on the op is something I feel like, you know, is very well warranted on a map like Breeze, especially to hold back any potential push. Because once they pushed out that recon dart, honestly, it probably would have been game. It would have been a huge ton of information on the side of thinking man if they didn't push that out. And honestly, they're just handling things to a T. Now pop flash, moving forward for Zachary to take a possibility for another shot and leaving that up down to Riku just to watch that tunnel. Man, this is painful. Already the first one just stepped down and then pushing themselves away. Huge aggression on the defense that we're going to be able to see from that duelist, but another one set down Riku. Huge damage. Already with 2, but yeah, they're done for. Already down in the smoke. It's another one. They heard the noise just a bit too late there.
Sometimes the timing gods giveth and sometimes they taketh away. Still though, Riku got a lot of value with the Hunter's Fury. He does oh no, Zachary, speaking of Valorant timing, it's straight.
Oh no.
Okay. Gompers, I got really scared there for a second.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to feel about that one. Dude, what is going on? The shots are just not hitting today. It's a second one. Oh man, so lucky that Vix was able to kind of clear that one at the end of the day. But 2 stars left for Scrubblebub. And a Dream. Down on the A site, 2v4. So probability not really there. I mean, they have
enemy remaining.
mollies maybe that they can throw out to kind of close out some of the angles. But even then, Vine is such a huge map that that's not going to do too much.
And now Ange, the last person left standing, actually able to find Lear there. So, okay, hold on, this ain't over yet. 1v2.
Oh, and they have the Viper Spit, dude. They could honestly place this down and get a pretty good probability, but yeah, they knew some of the stars were there. Doesn't matter. And this is such the aggravating part about having an Astra. And this is the only reason why Astra works on a map like this. You have the gravitational pull. Okay, cool. Go ahead. Try me 30 seconds in. I got it. And that's the nice part about having that.
Oh man, I mean, also too, like, what a round that we were saw here. It just felt like missed timings, things not being checked, people caught in weird off positions that just allowed the picks to kind of come through. And of course, Ange almost won that one back, but you could see the wraparound from Vix already happening as well. The thinking men were being a lot more proactive that time and were able to just find some good stuff. Might be seeing a little bit of an overheat here. Oh, not again. Zachary not able to find the kill though.
Okay, Decay slowly taking way of Zachary, but of course now slightly resolved though. Reformed in. Oh, this is such a good position. They didn't hear him coming around the back, but it's still Zachary to clear it. It doesn't matter. Thinking men. Oh, and they have everything they need. The information set down, but even then, a resurrection not possible with the circumstances. And a 3v4. They haven't even planned it yet. They're still looking for the perfect position to do so, but a flank around the back. This is huge. They have it from Ange. They don't know what's happening. Vix is peeking around the corner, but of course the aim is there and a possibility to take even more. The molly to clear and a slow workup coming through. This is good. It's Riku now. No drone readily available, having to use their own body for it, and it is going to work out, especially with that 3K just to clear things up.
Man, and honestly, I love the response coming in from the Glazers on that round. Obviously, the thinking men, they go for something that had worked for them a lot more on the previous map, where they're playing a lot more aggressive, playing so fast, so clean, and they do get themselves onto the site extremely effectively. But then the Glazers, I mean, they're aware of what's happening, and so they just kind of give that up. They've already taken quite a bit of damage, and they somehow are able to turn that one around. And I think that it was the level of just hey, they're getting that spike down now. Let's not give them a moment here to set up their post-plant positioning. Let's just pounce on them as soon as it goes down. And you could tell the thinking men not being able to set themselves up, not being able to group up, not being comfortable with their positioning, just started to crumble like a stack of cards. House of Cards. I was so close to getting that one right, but regardless, Zachary this time with the Blade Storm available.
Not only that, Ange is still kind of holding on to that Viper Spit too. Oh my goodness, and Zachary now missed out on the opportunity, but Lear, okay, they hold on quick, it doesn't matter. Not going to be able to utilize that Blade Storm to its full potential, but again, Viper Spit still set down over towards B. They lack that, and they know that majority set down towards A. I'm surprised that a rotation has not come out yet, especially for the time here.
Spike planted.
And that has to hurt too. They committed the Viper's Pit onto B. Fix here as well is probably going to get a timing on the decision. Nope. Yep. Going to be the case. This round is sealed and shut. Riku being pressured as well, but such an expensive round from the Glazers, all things considered. They just get absolutely rolled over. I imagine Ange now just going to look for some exits here to try and get some of those ultimate orbs to Riku off of the Viper's Pit, just not finding any value right off the bat. But a solid round from the Thinking Men. I love this attack from them.
Yeah, just going to stay patient at this point. I mean, making sure they have that save to come through, but 5-3, 5-4 now. Thinking Men pulling through with a victory. And it's not as close of a game as I feel like a lot of people might have thought it would have went. Again, Thinking Men really showing some signs of struggle. And what scares me the most is Zachary isn't even in his full element. Like,
yeah.
We're not attacking here. And it feels like we are. TG constantly pushing out so early on. And that might be, honestly, one of the things that's keeping them down so close.
I mean, that kind of works specifically on Breeze, in my opinion, because you want to be able to anchor down one site and then get a little bit more map exploration going on the opposite, right? And
yeah.
You can tell that they're really relying on Zachary to kind of make those plays, but now that they understand that they're up in the pace, well, they got to slow it down, and well, that'll do just fine.
Down A.
Oh, huge info too. Kind of interesting to see the way they handle things, though. Mid control trying to be taken over by Ange while everybody else just fighting for their lives down in A, Thinking Men struggling yet again, but it's Lear. Okay, they slowly fight things back, and they have a drone available. So even then, if they want to push for this rotation, or even just reposition themselves to a different position, oh man, but the Cypher util is just going to make this so much harder unless they take Precision out.
That's the thing right now that I'm watching for. The fact that Precision stays alive here, that is going to be huge, because given the fact, too, they've already got Ange watching mid as well. They know it's either onto this A, and as soon as the trip goes down, it's going to reveal exactly where those players are. But it does feel like their hand might be forced if they don't just go for a little bit of a trick play here.
Obscuring vision.
Yeah, they've eliminated that. And they might have thought there could have been a potential for a big rotation out of A. I guess maybe there was, because Precision did kind of move themselves out of the way. They know now possibility for a Cypher, slim to none, but a huge opening shot, just taking out Riku, and coming around the corner and just cleaning up the opposing side. The Glazers, they're not out of the game just yet.
You know what's really interesting about those last couple of rounds, Gompers? We're going to start just at the top of them, because what happens is, okay, we see Zachary fly out. The Thinking Men, they hold back for a second, see Zachary fly in, boom, punished, and now we just demolish the site. That time around, they're like, all right, let's just hold back instead. And so the Thinking Men are like, well, Zachary's not pushing up, so now's our time to go aggressive and go in hard onto the site, which the Glazers have set up for, and then immediately just roll right back over them. It's these weird timings around that level of aggression specifically being played out by their Jet that is really determining the flow of these rounds. As soon as they realize that the opponent is being a little bit more aggressive, the other team just kind of slows down and waits to punish that. But now that they're kind of dancing tit for toe, I imagine we're seeing something a little bit different. And actually, both of the teams this time around being a little bit more passive, except for getting a lot of mid control right now for the Thinking Men.
They're just trying to lure out TG. They know they've been pretty aggro. Time and time again. The majority of the time it's been over towards A, so I'm surprised they choose to kind of sit down around and be and wait. Guess this might just be the approach they want to handle for, especially the consistent losses down on A, but here the star's already set down. And a possibility for even more. I know they're just waiting for it. Yep. Slowly working themselves towards the back. Recon dart set.
30
and it's Rika to try to find some info.
Oh, that smoke could have been deadly.
Revealing
A little bit of a bait and switch play coming out there from the Thinking Men. Didn't invest a lot of utility, but Zachary now into the back of the site. Could be a bit of a backstab, but if they clear that one, it'll be great.
Spike planted.
Well, Hunter's Fury. Oh my gosh, and they almost found it, but it seems like they might have found more. Tons of damage, tons of information were formed. Finding themselves in a pretty good position as well, but they're going to have to fight off another 1v1, especially as that flank comes through. TG trying to gather information, and it just does not work. Slowly but surely, Thinking Men rising to the occasion, especially when it's needed. I mean, here Ange is just honestly telling me to shut up at this point. 1v3. And huge shots just dialed in, but 25 health left, and of course, time is ticking. Keeping that Vandal in hand might just be the best investment they've made.
Yeah, we're going to go into now the last round in this half. Vix had to pop the Viper Spit, just secures the round for them, but once again, it's Reformed doing such a good job at finding players one-on-one and winning out those gun duels. Of course, I could talk your ear off about utility, playing around the team, but sometimes if you just find yourself in those scenarios, you pop out, surprise your opponent, able to get the jump on them, you can shut them down. And we were seeing Reformed do that on two of the members of the Glazers trying to go for a flank that early on. And it really does feel like right now the Thinking Men, they understand how the Glazers want to play. And so the Glazers, they have to try and figure out what they want to do. Do they want to push Zachary to be a little bit more aggressive this time and support that? Or do they continue to play passive? Well, that's a lot of information right off the bat. We see them pick up the ultimate orb yet again. I'm expecting that Reform might be able to get this dimensional drift online, and if they can find that single pick, we saw how well the Thinking Men play around it.
Deploying drone.
We've set up a TP. Some sort of diversion. And now a fake as well. Oh, and this is huge. Nope, but it doesn't actually catch out the eye of Thinking Men regardless.
My ult's ready.
Can't really do anything about it. It's so surprising. It felt like for a second there, TG had all the angles covered, but now even then Precision with a share shot and finding a Vandal of their own is going to be able to slowly push themselves forward, but now zoned into one position. And one position only. Just trying to make with what they have now. Cage set up, Vix settled on top. Beautiful shots, and if it had been that one that they were able to collect, maybe there would have been a chance, but a 6-6 half, and Thinking Men, they've brought themselves back up.
Yeah, nice little up-down there play.
Move in after I strike.
The Thinking Men, they pull it back. I mean, look at that round board. Going back and forth between these two teams, each one just trying to stay a little bit more ahead than the other. But this is where I start to question things a lot more about the composition coming out from Thinking Men. Given the fact that they don't have that Cypher, this could be a little bit more difficult. We saw them struggle on their defense last time not having a Cypher on Sunset, and Scrubble Bubble once again on the Astra, not a very common pick. And so I wonder if they're going to have to rely on a little bit more just frag forward play, because Vix is the only one right now who brings that mollies. I talked about this earlier, having the fragment, having the Viper spit, that stuff does an excellent job at stalling things out, but those tools are just simply not available. And yeah, we're actually going to be seeing Reformed and Paid navigate their way out of B, but the hit is going to be on this A side.
They're just in it. Like, they've gained 50% of that site in seconds. Now Scrubblebub has absolutely nothing to show for it. The smoke dissipation already starting through. Now they're feeling more lost than ever. What do I do? Where do I go? And it seems like maybe that's not the correct position, but Paint slowly working themselves around the back. Thinking Men with a 2K and a flashbang huge to try to gather some of that potential, but nobody's there. And they're lacking some of that teamwork.
Player standing.
Or Precision is there. Not even able to peek around the back. Yeah, timing big, especially on the Essence there, but Thinking Men slowly taking back that lead.
Yeah, and see, that's what they wanted to do on the attack a little bit more, in my opinion. They wanted to play that level of speed, but we're getting punished for it, which led to a bit more of their confusion.
Yeah.
And yet, this time around, you know, we saw the aggression come out there. I do like the combination of having Reformed and Paint start to roll out. We know that both of these players are extremely good fraggers, but I am going to be a little bit concerned because the Glazers can start setting up trap plays for it once they start to get a little bit more of that read. And so that's when we're going to have to see a little bit more variation. You can't keep hitting your head against the wall and expect a different outcome here. Of course, though, this round, Thinking Men, they're coming in. They're buying a lot of Bulldogs. We are going to be seeing an Outlaw come in as well. Maybe trying to give Riku a taste of their own medicine. But as soon as that wall comes down, it's very evident which site's being attacked.
Yeah, they hear the plant coming down.
Spike planted.
Not really much to do about it, though, especially as the Viper wall starts to come down. Reformed looking for shots of their own. Already a 2K settled into it. Yeah, no shield and a classic is pretty easy to get some shots on with the Outlaw. But of course, doing a good job at keeping that potential there. 8 to 6. Very, very valuable to kind of move forward with, but the right clicks. Immaculate gameplay from Thinking Men alone. And is just playing for some sort of lineups here, which might actually work. Already settled down for 2. Second one stalling for some of that time, and all they need to do now is play for that spike, but you got 2 players already watching, and it's already too late. They've won the round in a very, very odd way, but it works out for the best.
I am befuzzled with how that snake bite was able to get that final kill there and actually pull him off just for a second. But I think that was also in combination with having the poison orb online, just reducing the HP that much more quicker. And so it becomes I should be able to tank this one out too. Oh no, where did my health go? And I'm dead.
Yep.
Somehow able to win that round. Unbelievable stuff. Thankfully, though, the economy for the Thinking Men isn't completely in shambles. It was a very nice, fast hit that we got to see come through from the Glazers. And honestly, Ange has been a very high-impact player on this map thus far. Has been able to find quite a few frags, but that time just saves the round as the Glazers find that bonus. And now, Thinking Men in a little bit of an uncomfortable position. While the Glazers have all the weaponry that they need, Zachary going to be the one, Outlaw in hand, shuts down the Owl drone already, claims Tube, while Thinking Men get aggressive on...
Okay.
What was that?
Illegal. Illegal gameplay. Don't know how they managed to pick those. Oh my goodness. And it still continues though too, because now it's just the tap after tap that drone is able to settle in. And even though they're playing the KO, they're not even playing a duelist. They tend to frag out so many times just based off that accuracy that they have. But it's up to Vix now. And yeah, they know drone is watching the angle, so
should be a fairly easy plant here. Honestly, might be good to let someone else plant, get that ultimate orb online. Riku going to be the person get closer to that Hunter's Fury, but that time around, the Glazers just did a really good job. They were like, you know, they're probably going to push us. Let's just hang back and play a little bit of aim labs. As they basically just walked into our crosshairs. Vix will have a Bulldog here, looking to potentially get a couple of kills, but this round is done and dusted. The Glazers are going to be able to get yet another round and retake the lead.
yeah, chances of coming back from this one are slim to none, especially with Vix. Just time of the essence. Lineups already settled down, and now you have Riku waiting for you to just touch down on that.
I can't die here.
You know, at this point, they're just trying to bait something out. I'm surprised that they decided to peek it, though. They knew they had this in the bag.
I'm not gonna lie, Gompers, I have to agree with you on that one. I think that might have just been a little bit of overconfidence being showcased by the Glazers, thinking, yeah, I mean, this round, like I said, is done and dusted, so we can go in there, just get another kill, see who's gonna get the ultimate orb, pad the stats a little bit more. And as a result, you know, they get punished pretty hard of it. And actually, Vix now is getting closer and closer to having that Viper's Pit online. Was pretty far off in the distance and now halfway there. So, a little bit of a misplay, but all things considered, all good from the Glazers. This time around, a little bit more of an aggressive play, but a bit of information off of an early recon dart. As the Thinking Men, they actually used that orb as well to take mid presence as well.
Trying to cross things here. Maybe find something up in vents, but doesn't seem like the way, especially now with the patience leading up towards Thinking Men. They've gathered information. Okay, there's one here. Maybe something around down in mid, but they haven't found too much.
Killed them. My ult's ready.
Great little angle being watched by Reformed. And that's another way that they can kind of be aggressive in just taking over the map space and catching their opponents off guard. And I think that right now we got to see Pain and Reform do an excellent job of that. Milkman now online. Site take is underway.
Waiting to use the dash, but it doesn't work out the way Zachary wanted. Luckily enough, taking themselves out of a very, very odd position. I think biggest concern here, not really the flank, especially as Ange is watching that, but how well can they hold this post plant? The Outlaw just waiting to be used. Maybe found out, but the only thing they're going to do is maybe 140 health. Set up on Paint. Paint still possibility to be kept alive, but even then, the flank looking amazing with Reform, taking out that TP and a 3K to their name. But a 1v1 situation. Huge Molly's already settled down, and they can't get it. If anything, still trying to keep themselves down inside of the game, but a Zippo clutch. And I mean, a huge job from TG.
And this is what I'm starting to notice right now. The Thinking Men, while trying to get all of their ducks in a row, they just run out of time. This happened the last round as well. The stall right now from the Glazers has been fantastic, and it's all because of Ange. Ange has once again won them the round. Little thing to mention as well, we saw Reformed use the ultimate, but because of the timing with the null command, immediately can't put that mask on and go into that other realm, just immediately just shut down. And it led to a little bit of uncomfortability. You saw the Thinking Men had to rethink their strategy once again, lending to that time there, but it's going to be a little bit of a trade at least. As a Reform goes down, traded out for Riku.
Best call for them, but at the same time, kind of risky, because now no noise is heard towards A, so they've made the assumption for a rotation to be the best thing for Thinking Men, and maybe it was, but at this point in time, actually, it might have just been Vix taking down Zachary in an unfortunate line of events, but Thinking Men holding on for dear life and still trying to fight things down, but it seems like even then Precision willingly pushing and finding that control. Up to Scrub above though, 1v2 situation, and now up to Drone to make sure they can keep it. Zippo clutch and a huge 10-7.
Wow, the Glazers are running away with it. That was looking a little bit scary, not gonna lie. I did think that the Thinking Men should have been able to get there, but just, once again, being able to trade effectively, the Glazers not an unwinnable situation, and they come out ahead yet again. Absolute chaos. For what it's worth, the Thinking Men did an excellent job at starting to even things out and trade off of each other. I think that lends their strength is playing as this kind of ball squad where they all just group up and are able to win when gunfights when it matters. But that time around, the Glazers win yet again. Will be Rifles coming through. Paint has the Operator this time. We do see the Duelists split themselves up on that defense. This could leave at least a little bit of a gap. Hunter's Fury also online.
Pulling through with the Hunter's Fury. Everybody else trying to make themselves just find some sort of space, but it doesn't happen. Reformed even now down as well. And Thinking Men just can't seem to hold on. They have an op, but what value is that going to do, especially now with everybody settled down on B? Mid-control maybe, and Zachary just won't let it go. It's over. Everybody hunted down. And now an op in the hands, quite potentially, on the side of TG. I'm actually curious if they're willing to pick that up. It seemed like there was a desire to.
Oh, this is a nice one.
That is honestly just the worst case scenario. Can't even save it. I think that Paint was actually trying to just back up and disappear to be able to get that save in at the last minute, but wow. Just honestly, chaos happening on this site. But once again, Thinking Men, they look all scattered. They're not really playing together, which is where things start to fall apart. You can see multiple opportunities where the Glazers were able to isolate those 1v1 situations. We can talk about utility all you want. Doesn't matter. If they're not expecting you, you get the kill, it works out perfectly. And now Drone will have this null command available to play around. We see Thinking Men getting aggressive again, but they have to give up a lot of space in order to do so, hoping for a kill.
Precision finds it. Though luckily enough, you're kind of playing with that buddy system, so refract potential was there. They did lose out on that Duelist, but playing on the defense, so much util to utilize here, especially with the flash settled down from a formed. Vix caught themselves beautifully, and they finally find another one. 2K settled down on the board, and Thinking Men, they're back.
Planted.
Oh, I was so scared there for a second, Goppers, but look at this. And watching this back angle, gets one, gets the second. They might be back into it, but it's already being closed.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, wide swing.
Or not.
Moving through from Vix. Oh, they utilize the ultimate here. Oh no, but Ange, they're not settled for some sort of post-plant position. They know they need to take this 1v1. Then find the potential to maybe use their molly to fight this out, but yeah, timing of the essence and Thinking Men, they are not willing to let this go. Again, the stakes are high. You lose this if you're Thinking Men, and you're out.
Yeah, it's all on the line, and the Thinking Men, this is looking like we went from a very set playbook strategy on how we want to aggress here to like, okay, let's just find a couple of kills, find a couple of timings and positions, and then just rely on being able to win out our duels. And almost pulled that one back, but then as soon as Reformed kind of goes through the dimensional drift, you can tell that it forces players to reposition themselves, and as a result, it gets a little bit more difficult. So we're now seeing the Thinking Men, they're going for a timeout here. Paint actually going for the operator yet again into this next one. They do have the Cosmic Divide to play off of, as well as the Viper Spit. This is going to be an important round, Gompers, because it is going to allow them to solidify their economy while making it so the Glaciers go to this weird, mostly full, but kind of half buy, potentially on the next round, which could start to even out these rounds.
That and... man, too, like, Thinking Men have so much potential. They're one off of the Blade Storm. I mean, not that they're going to need it, especially with the... actually, they might. If that op goes down, they're going to need it very, very much. But they're kind of loading up so many ultimates here, and I think the potential is pretty huge. It's a while away before TG are able to kind of collect something out of that, unless they want to farm some of these orbs and picks, but... regardless of that, kind of trying to read into what TG want, the B site seeming like the main course of action here.
And I'm wondering now what the protocol is with Paint having that operator. Previously, we saw with the Thinking Men, they just used it to hold down those long sightlines, but it actually looks like it's going to be done in support of Reformed. As Reformed makes a little bit more aggression here, but immediately stopped thanks to Precision's utility with that Cypher.
Oh, Paint's watching with the op, but of course Reformed is watching Paint back. This is huge. It's a weird offset positioning. It's not like Paint can really fight for some sort of refrag potential, but trusting in Reformed to make sure that everything's looking good. Now TP settled down. Not hearing anything else. Tons of information made, but nobody's trying to find it.
Love that too, able to get out of a dangerous situation. So now Paint's going to be the one with this operator who can really get some damage here. Spots out an arm.
No charges left.
Oh, but they're still up above. Okay, Zachary's actually trying to find something big here, looking at that confidence, but it's Paint to do even better, and now pulling out the Blade Storm on their own. They were in such a weird position. But even then, 3v2. And not much to utilize or work with. I mean, possible suppression to kind of pull through with the win here. The chances of that actually connecting are slim to none, and Scrubble Bub just gets one through the smoke, and it does not feel good. Especially for TG here, having to rely on drone, but we've seen drones aim before, but how well can you aim when they're behind you? Vic's cleaning things.
Yeah, honestly, that... as soon as the spike went down and they were kind of evened out from both of those teams, you could tell that the protocols were in place. Vic's immediately starting to come around, but man, spray through your smokes. I've said that before, I'll say that again. You never know. The common angles, you could easily just get a kill here or there. Top that too, the Blade Storm forced out, but thankfully they win the round, so the economy not going to be too damaged. And I got to admit, I was a big fan of that little Reformed Paint play, where you have Paint watching with the operator to allow Reformed to get a little bit more aggressive, take a little bit of space, but also too can escape, and then if they continue to try and chase that Yoru, then Paint's watching with an operator. It's just the smokes make it so much more difficult to be able to secure those kills. And this time around, Paint playing on this A side, more or less alone with this op. This one's going to be a little tougher.
Oh, the pop flash out. Okay, Paint doesn't even know, but it's okay. Zachary does. That was surprising. It's unfortunate too. They didn't have the The dash loaded up. Now they have to try to fight this back, though, and in a weird location, but everybody else having their back. TG finding some sense of security in a big aggression down towards A.
Yeah, I mean, the kills just happened so quickly. I think that it might have been a little bit of an overextension from Thinking Men on the defense. They were starting to peek in a little bit too much before any of the other players were remotely close by. As a result of that, I mean, the Glazers completely swarm in the site, find their timings, and now the Thinking Men are forced to save yet again, as the Glazers are now going to be on match point, potentially eliminating Thinking Men here with this spike explosion.
Nothing much else to say. We're kind of stuck down in match point now. And again, super unfortunate position. This takes the toll on the mental, I feel. Like, especially when you know that this is super cutthroat position. You can either make it to the mid-season or you're out. And it feels like Thinking Men reaching that toll, but definitely not looking to give up. Still an ultimate readily available there.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to just try and buy up as much as they can. It's going to be a little bit tough. We're not going to be able to see full armor and weapons come in, but majority of people will be okay. Riku this time coming in with the operator on the Sova. You don't see that one too often, but Thinking Men playing aggressive yet again. This is where they found their most success. Unfortunately, it hasn't been enough to really solidify a solid defensive half. We're seeing a very similar position here, but this time around, I imagine the Glazers are going to be aware of it because they don't want to get punished again.
No, TG, they aren't as aggressive as they were down on the A site, but they have B. I mean, completely left in the open. Precision.
Nailed.
Slowly peeking out of the way. They didn't know they were stuck half and half outside. And now some sort of recollection coming up towards B. The outshot from Riku looking to make its way. They found the right one. That's absolutely beautiful.
It's going to be a 50-50. Cosmic Divide coming down here as trades come through.
Yeah, off still ready. Riku checking out the sidelines. The potential for some sort of pick to be taken through, but a 2v2 situation. Thinking Men looking to bring things back, but this might be it. If they can keep this intact, it's game over, and it is for TG. Huge win coming through, and the Glazers, they say GG to the side of Thinking Men.
Oh my goodness, Riku first starting things off earlier in that map with the Outlaw, and then closing it out with the Operator. I mean, obviously coming into this one, we were like, oh yeah, Zachary could also op too, so we expect to see a lot of Zachary op. Didn't see that at all, actually. And of all people, Riku on the Sova was the one to be able to find all of those kills, but the Glazers, they upturn the Thinking Men and eliminate them. That is huge for this team.
And it was scary, man. Like, they were finally finding their way back to it. And I feel like it was very, very close starting off in the first half. Of course, second half starts to get a little bit more risky, but I think that that's just the way the game goes. Zachary got the chance to play on the attack as that duelist and really shine as that jet player. And I think that it really did kind of keep Thinking Men back into a very, very odd spot. But overall, I mean, huge game to be played. TG trying their absolute best to make sure they don't lose against a team that might have been heavily favored, if anything. I mean, Thinking Men probably one of the strongest teams that I genuinely thought were going to pull through with a win, but that means they're out and there is no qualifications for Thinking Men to kind of pull through with the mid-season.
Yeah, and that's not anything to take away from the Thinking Men too. I liked some of their new ideas here. They were definitely trying to play a little bit more differently. You know, shake things up a little bit more. Throw your opponent through a little bit of a loop. But unfortunately, it just kind of falls short. And man, some of those plays that Andrew's doing with the stalls were just unreal. I can't still believe how much value Andrew was able to get on some of these post-plant situations. If those couple of rounds were actually turned over to the Thinking Men, then I think that this could have been a completely different score line. But like you said, it really seemed towards the end there that the mental of the Thinking Men just wasn't as put together, and the Glazers, they were ready to just pounce on that.
And that they did, to be honest. They had such a flawless game. 3 clutches to be pulled through from this. I mean, really just trying to put some of that potential and power that they've been honing on this past month, I guess I could say, just trying to build up the skills to make sure they don't get taken down again. And the Glazers originally, you know, that they weren't looking too good in that regular season. I believe it wasn't even that. They've only won 2 games out of the many that they played, and it wasn't even a series that they had won. They had lost every single series. So coming into this and being knocked down to the lower bracket, it was one of those moments where I really do feel like they knew this was where they had to really kick it into drive. So I'm glad that they did. And again, a big congratulations to the Glazers, because, man, they played well. And I got to give kudos to Drone, dude. Drone was pulling through with the shots today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got to see Precision kind of be that highlight player on the first map with a couple of those unbelievable flicks. But then, of course, Drone started to pick it up as well. And yeah, the clutch master here, Ange, somehow keeping it alive. Those clutches were because of Viper mollies. But still, I mean, overall, great stuff coming in from the Glazers. Reformed was doing a great job at trying to pull things back. But, you know, it comes down to the fact that maybe their composition just wasn't as strong on this map. The lack of Cypher here, I think, really made it more difficult for the Thinking Men, and that became so much more apparent on their defense, where they had to take the space. They had to play a little bit more aggressive because they don't have those trips to really secure areas of the map down and get the information for their team. And ultimately, I think that was why we had to see them go for some of those nutsy plays where chaos could just break out, and you know, you're kind of gambling on it at that point. You don't know if the Glazers are going to win or if you guys are going to win.
Well, the Glazers definitely felt like they were, especially with the way they were playing in that first round. Yeah. if we can recall Zachary's aggro push moving forward, but man, I mean that really does have to feel victorious too. Of course, it's not over just yet, though. They do have another match, which is the scariest one yet, and that one's against a team that got knocked down a little bit later, but did knock down Thinking Men. So, I mean, I would say it is going to be pretty hard for the Glazers to be able to pull through. What this matchup is, we'll be able to see it right after this very, very quick bite.